Hi, friends and family. I am back for Yapa Photo. I took a long, deserving break this summer. I think my last video dates back from August. What happened since then? It's now Halloween. Well, I went to Colorado in August for a nice, relaxing vacation, and then back to school kicked in. And it was a two crazy month of just readjustment, going back into the full swing of being on campus, an in-person school. I also moved to Evanston after 22 years of living in Chicago, so that's been a big personal adjustment. And making sure that my son, who is in seventh grade, also goes back to school smoothly and in good transition. I want to share what have I learned from those first 8 weeks of back to school. The series Yapa Photo is here to inspire my friends and family, also highlight some profiles that are that needs more spotlight, but also once in a while I like to also talk about professional development, education, language development, and what it means to be a teacher in a time of a pandemic. I want to share my screen and kind of give you my 2 cents of what it's been teaching during a pandemic, and especially during a time where this country is so divisive and a lot of different personal opinion about, do I need to go back to school? Should we be remote? Should we learn from home? Should we be in person? What have I learned from those first 2 weeks of going back to school, of being in a hybrid model situation in an independent school in Chicago? First thing is, what is at the center of this whole concentration are the students, the children, and you will see that the children are the most resilient, especially the young learners, the ones that are in early childhood, the age 3 to 5. They are the most resilient, the most adaptable, but also the most creative, probably more than us adults, grown-ups. Early childhood in my school is back full day on campus. Lower school, who are the grades 1 to 4, are back almost half-half. And my son, who is in middle school, is going to transition to 3 days on campus and 2 days remote. We are doing it in a gradual way because going full on is not safe right now, especially with numbers in Chicago, in the state of Illinois, rising up. We want to be careful. Children are extremely combative and resilient. They learn from failure and mistakes, and they bounce back. So that's a good point, because they don't have biases yet. What it feels to wear a mask, or what it feels to stay home, and that sense of isolation. They are very moldable and more adaptive than us, because they are still in constant growth and learning. So that's something that I see from my young learners, is that they do as well working at home, but also they do even better being in a structure and in a school environment. And they're also really happy to go back to school and see their friends. Hybrid right now is probably the safest and the most practical model. Very few schools are going back 100%. I don't think that would be the safe way. As of right now, we're almost 50-50, where there are some days, some of our students work from home, and some other days where they go to school. We haven't been back to 100% on campus with 600 students as of right now, just because it is safer to stagger and just go along the way, look at the data, make sure that we respect safety measures. It is a plan with a short-term picture, meaning that my school comes up with a new plan every month. It is hard to project ourselves and see what the situation will be in the next 6 months. So hybrid is probably the safer way to go as far as best practice right now, because it gives us time to anticipate, to plan ahead, and just give time gradually for everybody to go back to school. If there are some students who wish to remain virtual attendance, that's fine as well. But I think that going hybrid and having that combination model right now is the way to go. 80% of our families in my school have decided to go back on campus. It is a tremendous burden for parents, especially from young learners, to be home, the lack of socialization, but also the burden on parents to be almost substitute teacher. It is not fair. It is not their job. Children want to go back to school in a safe environment. Technology has become my new friend. I'm already a tech-savvy person, but I'm even more now relying on technology for better or for worse. It is a curse and a blessing. It is a blessing because I'm talking to you right now using technology, because technology is a great way to connect and break barriers. And during that time of pandemic, we have seen multiple ways to connect virtually, but it can also be a curse because when I telecast 90% of my time and there's a power outage or the Wi-Fi is not working, then it affects me tremendously because now my Zoom is running really slow. I get kicked out of my room. I cannot upload my pages. A blessing and a curse. For better or for worse, we need to rely on technology now to do our job since a lot of us are confined at home or continue to work from home. I do go to campus. I physically choose to go to work on the days my students are also at school. And even if we are physically in the building, I telecast, meaning I do not enter the classroom. I teach live on Zoom or I post content on Google Classroom, on Seesaw for asynchronous lesson, which means that yes, I absolutely need to rely on technology resources and have a stable connection to the internet, having a laptop, going paperless this year because I almost print nothing, which means that I'm not super comfortable with having no paper, no pencil, because I still want the kids to have an understanding of what it means to write, handwriting, and be able to write cursive. It feels like handwriting is a dying art right now. The technology, yes, after 8 weeks of school, I have noticed a tremendous shift in how we use technology. We have hired multiple people in our IT department just to make sure that the technology available is reliable and secure for us to do our job and for the kids to also be present and engaged. It is also very important to have a support system at work. You cannot grow and you cannot do your work properly if you don't have a support system, whether it's your administration, your direct colleagues, your co-workers, the collaboration, and the mental support is crucial, especially in that time, 2020, where we are being stretched to the max. We have to learn a new profession. We have to learn new tools. We have to teach differently. We have to engage in a way that is accessible, but yet virtual. So we're being asked to do things that we've never done before. We had a quick tryout this spring, and it looks like the year to come is going to be like this until June, next summer. So it is important that we are not isolated. In my school, teachers collaborate together, grade level. There's really a team dynamic, a team spirit that creates that sense of team winning. We want to make sure that you are not alone. That's why the administration has to be on board, but also your parents. The families you teach have to also be very supportive and understanding of the situation. That's why it's really critical and crucial for the professional success that you are not isolated. There's no sense of alienation. This year, we need to set some very realistic and achievable goals, meaning that I'm well aware that my students may not progress the same way. It's going to be a slow building year. I see them only twice a week, one time live for 30 minutes where they're on Zoom with me, and then a second time asynchronous where I post content online. So really, they have only half an hour with me of live contact, of physical face-to-face interaction. That's not a lot. It is slashing almost in half the time they used to have with me. Therefore, we need to have concrete realistic expectation that this year is going to be a slow and steady building year. It is not going to be a breakthrough year where we're going to do some phenomenal things. It is almost a year of maintenance, a year where you want them to break even, not lose too much on the skills, but some kids learn better in the classroom. Some kids learn better with repetition and a lot of consistency. So even if we are providing the discipline and the routine and the safety to make mistakes, seeing me only once a week for half an hour on Zoom, it's going to be a very slow process. But because I communicate that with my administration and also with my families and students, they know that this year is unlike any other year, and it may be the first of many other years that we have to experience. So this year, while 100% on board that this is all of us on the same boat, in the same team together, reaching a common goal of maintaining skills, making sure that kids don't fall behind, that they are safe, and that they are also engaged through the technology and virtually. So having that realistic approach, I think, helps to build up. Self-care. Self-care is a top priority, whether it means physical health, mental health, emotional safety. We are in the midst of the pandemic where we have to wear masks, so it creates a barrier at work, where we don't touch people, where we don't really greet each other anymore so close by. So it creates a barrier, and it could be also a barrier emotionally and mentally. When we go home, we want to make sure that we maintain that sanity, and we have time for self-care for our friends and family, to feel loved and to feel wanted in a warm and loving environment. Work is not the only thing that matters. My mental and physical health is also as important. So working out, having a proper nutrition, good sleep, drink a lot of water, and still do some fun things, remaining safe and distant. So it's a fine balance. We want to make sure to have a harmony, a mental and emotional harmony, and still stay grounded. I know that meditation or journaling, taking an approach of new hobbies, new passions, new interests may be a good thing. Having a pet or taking long walks, playing sports is a wonderful way to also recharge and release your energy outside of work. And this year is also an opportunity for change, for growth, for embracing mistakes, for being more patient, because we're all in this together. It's not fair that I'm not allowed to make mistakes this year because my students may not progress as fast as I had anticipated. I had to make a lot of adjustments just for them to learn. I'm sad that I'm not going to travel to France this year, that I cannot plan field trips around the city, that I cannot plan a trip, an immersion trip going to France with my students. It is a year, well, where we have to embrace failure and maybe mistakes, a year of change, a year of growth, where we have to create new patterns. For instance, my kindergartners used to choose French or Spanish, and this year, because of the pandemic and their young age, we have decided that age 5 is too young to get them on a computer. So we have decided to introduce them to French and Spanish. So this is a year where we are taking risk. We're making the best of it. It's the silver lining because there's no precedent. We are going to create history. So this was, in a nutshell, what I've learned from the first 8 weeks of school. It's been extremely stressful at times. It's been overwhelming. I felt not ready in the beginning of the school year. But after 8 weeks, after 2 months, I think that routines have started to set in. We know where we are going to some extent, and we know not to plan too far ahead because uncertainty is here. This is also a year of the election, so we know there's a lot at stake. So There's a lot of tension and pressure in this country, but above all, remember self-care is so important. To remember to be at peace, stay grounded, do things that matters to you, and bring you joy. I will see you soon, my friends and family, for another episode of Yapa Photo. It's been too long of a break, and I miss producing videos. I will be back soon for some new content. À bientôt.